So, I know I've got a full set just like everybody else here, but I'm only going to do one song. But it's a long song. I'm sure a lot of you are going to recognize it. It's a pretty well-known song from the 60s. This song is called Alice's Restaurant. It's about Alice and a restaurant. But Alice's Restaurant is not the name of the restaurant, that's just the name of the song. That's why I call the song Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. All started about 2 Thanksgivings ago. It was 2 years ago on Thanksgiving, when a friend and I decided to go visit Alice up at the restaurant. Only Alice doesn't live in the restaurant. Alice lives in a church nearby the restaurant up in the bell tower with her husband Ray and Tasha the dog. And living in the bell tower like that, they got a lot of room downstairs where the pews used to be. Having all that room down there, seeing as how they took out all the pews, they figured they didn't have to take their garbage out for a long, long time. So we got up there, we saw that half a ton of garbage, and we thought it'd be a friendly gesture for us to take the garbage down to the city dump. So we loaded that half a ton of garbage into the back of a red VW microbus, took shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, headed on towards the city dump. But when we got to the city dump, there was a big sign on a chain across the dump that said closed on Thanksgiving. Now, we had never heard of a dump being closed on Thanksgiving before, and with tears in our eyes, we drove off into the sunset to try and find another place to put the garbage. We didn't find one. Till we came to a side road, and off the side of the side road was a 15-foot cliff. And at the bottom of the cliff was another pile of garbage. And we figured that one big pile was better than 2 little piles, and rather than bring that one up, we decided to throw ours down. So that's what we did. Drove back to the church, had a Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat. Went to sleep and didn't get up until the next morning when we got a telephone call from Officer Roby. He said, "Kid, found your name on an envelope at the bottom of a half a ton of garbage. Just wanted to know if you had any information about it." I said, "Yes, sir, Officer Roby, I cannot tell a lie." I put that envelope under that garbage. Well, after speaking to Obie for about 45 minutes on the telephone, we finally arrived at the truth of the matter. He said we had to go pick up the garbage. We also had to go down and talk to him at the police officer's station. Now, we figured there was only 1 or 2 things Obie could have done to us at the police officer's station. The first was he could have given us a medal for being so brave and honest on the telephone, which wasn't very likely and we didn't expect it. The second was he could have bought us out and told us to never be seen driving garbage around the vicinity again, which was what we expected. But when we got to the police officer's station, there was a third possibility which we hadn't even counted upon, and we was both immediately arrested. Handcuffed. I said, "Obie, I don't think I can pick up the garbage with these handcuffs on." He said, "Shut up, kid. Get in the back of the patrol car." And that's what we did, and headed on towards the, quote, scene of the crime, unquote. I want to tell you about the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where this was happening. They got 3 stop signs, 2 police officers, and 1 police car. But when we got to the scene of the crime, there was 5 police officers and 3 police cars. This being the biggest crime of the last 50 years, and everybody wanted to get in the newspaper story about it. And they was using up all kinds of cop equipment they had lying around the police officer's station. They took plaster tire tracks, footprints, dog-smelling prints, and they took 27 8x10 colored glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. They took pictures of the approach, the getaway, the northwest corner, the southwest corner, and that's not to mention the aerial photography. After after the ordeal, we went back to the jail. Obie said he was gonna put us in the cell. He said, kid, I'm gonna put you in the cell. I want your wallet and your belt. I said, Obie, I can understand you want my wallet, so I don't have any money to spend in the cell, but what do you want my belt for? He said, kid, we don't want any hangings. I said, Obie, did you think I was gonna hang myself for littering? Obie said he was making sure, and friends Obie was, 'cause he took out the toilet seat so I couldn't hit myself over the head and ground. He took out the toilet paper so I couldn't bend the bars, roll the toilet paper out the window, slide down the roll, have an escape. Obie was making sure, and it wasn't until about 4 or 5 hours later that Alice, remember Alice? There's a song about Alice. Alice came down with a few nasty words to Obie on the side. Bailed us out and we went back to the church, had another Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat. Didn't get up until the next morning when we all had to go to court. We walked in, sat down, Obie walked in, sat down with the 27 8x10 color glossy pictures. Man came in, said all rise, and we did. The judge came in, sat down with the CNI dog. Obie looked at the CNI dog, then at the 27 8x10 color glossy pictures. Then he looked at the CNI dog, then at the 27 8x10 color glossy pictures and began to cry because, friends, Obie came to the realization that it was a typical case of American blind justice and there wasn't nothing he could do about it. And the judge wasn't gonna look at the 27 8x10 color glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was. And we had to pay $50 and pick up the garbage in the snow. But that's not what I'm here to tell you about. Came to talk about the draft. They got a building in New York City, it's called Whitehall Street. You go in, you get injected, inspected, detected, infected, neglected, and selected. I went down to get my physical examination. Got good and drunk the night before, so I looked and felt my best when I went in there. 'Cause I wanted to look like the all-American kid from New York City. I wanted to feel like, I wanted to be the all-American kid from New York City. Walked in, sat down, I was hung down, brung down, hung up, all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things. They handed me a piece of paper, said, kid, go see the psychiatrist, room 604. I went in, I said, shrink, I want to kill. I want to see blood and gore, guts, veins in my teeth. Meat, burned dead bodies. Kill. And I started jumping up and down, yelling, kill, kill. And he started jumping up and down with me. We was both jumping up and down, yelling, kill, kill. And the sergeant came in, pinned a medal on me, sent me down the hall, said, you're our boy. Didn't feel too good about it. But I proceeded on down the hall, getting more injections, inspections, detections, infections, and neglections. And I was there for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I was there for a long time, getting all looped over, having a really tough time and all that. But then finally, I came to the very last man. I went in, I said, what do you want? He said, kid, we just got one question for you. Have you ever been arrested? And I proceeded to tell him the full story of the Alice's Restaurant Massacree with full orchestration, 5-part harmony. And he stopped me right there and said, kid, did you go to court? And I proceeded to tell him about the 27 8x10 color glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was. And he stopped me right there and said, kid, I want you to go sit down on that bench over there, the one that says Group W. Now, kid. I went over and sat down on the Group W bench there. And Group W is where they put you when you may not be moral enough to join the army after committing your special crime. There was all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly-looking people sitting there on that bench with me. There was mother violators, father stabbers, father violators. Sitting right there on that bench next to me, they was mean, nasty, ugly, horrible crime-type guys. And the biggest one of them all, the meanest, nastiest father violator of them all was coming over to me. Sat down next to me, said, kid, what'd you get? I said, I didn't get nothing, I had to pay $50 and pick up the garbage. He said, kid, what were you arrested for? And I said, littering. They all sort of moved away from me on the bench there. Dust it and created a nuisance, and they all came back, shook my hand, we was having a good time. On the bench there, smoking cigarettes, talking about crime, all kinds of groovy stuff on the bench there. And the sergeant came in with a stack of paper in his hand. He said, "Kids, this paper's like about 47 words, 30 sentences, and 28 words. I want to know the location of the crime, time, the crime details of the crime, arrest, and officer's name, and anything else you got to say pertaining to and about the crime." And he talked for 45 minutes, and none of us understood a word that he said. Well, we all had fun filling out the forms and playing with the pencils on the bench there. And I filled out the Alice's Restaurant Massacree just the way it was. Full orchestration, 5-part harmony, and then I turned to the other side, and there, on the other side, in the middle of the other side, away from everything else on the other side, read the following words. "Kid, have you rehabilitated yourself?" I went over, I said, "Sergeant, you got a lot of gall asking me if I rehabilitated myself. I'm sitting there on this bench, on this here Group W bench, cause you want to know if I'm moral enough to join the army, burn women, kids, houses, villages after being a litter bug." He looked at me, he said, "Kid, we don't like your kind. We're gonna send your fingerprints off to Washington." So now our friends, somewhere in Washington, enshrined in some little envelope, is a study in black and white of my fingerprints. The only reason I'm telling you this is that you may know someone who's in a similar situation. Or you may be in a similar situation, and if you're in a similar situation, there's only one thing you can do, and that's go into the shrink wherever you are. Just walk in and say, "Shrink. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant." Walk out. Imagine if just one person does it. They'll think he's really sick and they won't take him. And if 3 people do it, they may think it's an organization. And if 50 people do it, you imagine 50 people a day going in and singing a bar at Alice's Restaurant. Friends, they may think it's a movement. And that's what it is, the Alice's Restaurant Anti-Massacree movement. All you gotta do to join is to sing it with me the next time it comes around on the guitar. With feeling. Alright? Can we do that? Here it comes. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. That was horrible. Come on in, war and stuff, you gotta sing loud. I've been singing this song for 15-20 minutes. I could sing it for another 20. I'm not proud or tired. So I want you to sing it with me the next time it comes around on the guitar. This time with a lot of feeling. Can we do that? So we'll just wait for it to come around and sing it with feeling. Alright, here it comes. Everybody now. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant, except the Alice. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Da-da-da-da-da-da. At Alice's Restaurant. Thank you. That was Alice's Restaurant Massacree by Arlo Guthrie, and I will be right back. I need to get a piece of paper. I can't remember how to pronounce something.